Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. Today we will be reviewing a poem by Percy by Shelley, which is titled Mont Blanc. But before that, let me introduce the author Percy by Shelley. Percy Shelley, or more known as Percy Bysshe Shelley, was one of the major English Romantic poets in his time. He was born on the 4th of August 1972 and died on the 8th of July 1822. He is radical in his political and social views, and Shelley did not achieve fame during his lifetime, but recognition of his achievements in poetry grew steadily following his death, and he became an important figure and influence of subsequent generations of poets, including Robert Browning, Algernon Charles Swinburne, Thomas Hardy, and William Butler Yeats. Amongst his best-known works are Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, To a Skylark, and the philosophical essay The Necessity of Atheism, written alongside his friend T.J. Hogg in 1811, and the political ballad The Mask of Anarchy. Mont Blanc is one of Percy Bysshe Shelley's most famous poems, which is titled Mont Blanc, Lines Written in the Vale of Chamouni. To give the poem its full title, is an ode to the mountain, the highest mountain in the Alps, and compares the mountain's mightiness with the power of the human imagination, making it a classic romantic poem. Before diving into the poetic devices, let's see the imagery used in the poem. The first imagery I've seen is visual imagery, which is fine earthly rainbows stretched across the sweep. Next is the auditory imagery, which can be seen in the line thigh caverns echoing to the earth's commotion, a loud, lone sound no other sound can tame. The hyperbole used in the poem is in the lines meet in the vale and one majestic river, the breath and blood of distant lands forever. The personification used in Mont Blanc, as stated there, is physical. Mont Blanc is a personification of the secret strength of the human mind, which means our perception of the nature of what we see gives it power. Even though nature has always been seen vast and powerful, but in Shelley's perspective, the nature has creative power over Shelley's imagination. Thus, this influences and inspires Shelley to use that creative power into his poem. The everlasting universe of things flows through the mind and rolls its rapids wave. Now dark, now glittering, now reflecting gloom, now lending splendor, where from secret spring the source of human thought its tribute things of waters, but a sound of half its own, such as a feeble brook will often assume in the wild woods among the mountains loon, where waterfalls around it leap forever, where woods and winds contend, and a vast river over its rock easily bursts and raves.
Thus thou, ravine of earth, dark, deep ravine, thou many-colored, many-voiced fill, over whose pines and crags and caverns sail fast-clad shadows and sunbeams, awful scene, where power in likeness of the earth comes down from the ice gulfs that guard his sacred throne. Bursting through these dark mountains like the flame of lightning through tempest, thou dost lie, thy giant brood of pines around thee clinging, children of elder time, in whose devotion the chainless winds still come and ever came, to drink their orders and their mighty swinging, to hear an old and solemn harmony. Fine earthly rainbows stretched across the sweep of the ethereal waterfall, whose veil robed some unsculptured image, the strain to sleep, which when the voices of the desert fill, wraps all in its own deep eternity. The Thai caverns echoing to the earth's commotion, a loud, lone sound no other sound can tame. Thou art pervaded with that ceaseless motion, thou art the path of that unresting sound. This a ravine, and when I gaze on thee, I seem as in a trance sublime and strange, to muse on my own separate fantasy, my own, my human mind, which passively now renders and receives fast influencings, holding on and unremitting interchange with the clear universe of things around, one legion of wild thoughts whose wandering wings now float above thy darkness and now rest where that art thou art no unbidden guest. In the still cave of the witch poesy, seeking among the shadows that pass by, ghost of all things that are, some shade of thee, some phantom, some faint image, till the breast from which they fled recalls them, thou art there. Some say that the gleams of a remoter world visit the soul in sleep, that death is slumber, and that its shapes the busy thoughts outnumber. Of those who wake and live, I look on high. Has some unknown omnipotence unfurled the veil of life and death, or do I lie in dream, and does the mighty world of sleep spread far around and inaccessibly its circles? For the very spirit feels driven like a homeless cloud from steep to steep that vanishes among the viewless gales. Far, far above, piercing the infinite sky, Mont Blanc appears, still snowy and serene. Its subject mountains, the unearthly forms, pile around it ice and rock, broad veils between, of frozen floods, unfathomable deeps, blue as the overhanging heaven that spread and wind among the accumulated steeps, a desert peopled by the storms alone, safe when the eagle brings some hunter's bone, and the wolf tracks her there. How hideously its shapes are heaped around, rude, bare, and high, ghastly and scarred and riven. Is this the scene where the old earthquake demon taught her young ruin? Were these their toys, or did a sea of fire envelop once this silent snow? None can reply. All seems eternal now. The wilderness has a mysterious tongue, which teaches awful doubt or faith so mild, so solemn, so serene that man may be but for such faith with nature reconciled. Thou hast a voice, great mountain, to repeal large coats of fraud and woe, not understood by all, but which the wise and great and good interpret or make felt or deeply feel.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nabila binti Muhammad Nasi. Today I will recite a poem Mont Blanc by Percy Shelley. The fields, the lakes, the forests and the streams, ocean and all the living things that dwell within the daedal earth, lightning and rain, earthquake and fairy flood, and hurricane, the torpor of the year when feeble dreams visit the hidden buds or dreamless sleep holds every future leaf and flower, the bound with which from the detested trains they leap, the works and ways of man, their death and birth, and that of him and all that his may be, All things that move and breathe with toil and sound are born and die, revolve, subside and swell. Power dwells apart in its tranquility, remote, serene, and inaccessible. And this, the naked countenance of earth, on which I guess even these primeval mountains teach the adverting mind. The glaciers creep like snakes that watch their prey from their far fountains, slow rolling on. There many a perceived frost, and the sun in scorn of mortal power have built dome, pyramid, and pinnacle, a city of death, distinct with many a tower, and wall impregnable of beaming eyes. Yet not a city, but a flood of ruin is there that from the boundaries of the sky rolls its perpetual stream, whose pines are striving its distinct part, or in the mangled soil, branchless and shorter, stand the rocks drowned down from yon remotest ways, have overthrown the limits of the dead and living world, never to be reclaimed. The dwelling place of insects, beasts, and birds becomes its spoil, their food and their retreat forever gone. So much of life and joy is lost. The race of man flies far in dread. His work and dwelling vanish like smoke before the tempest stream, and their place is not known. Below vast caves shine in the rushing torrents, restless gleam, which from those secret chests in tumult welling, meet in the vale and one majestic river, the breath and blood of distant lands, forever rolls it loud waters to ocean waves, breathes its swift vapors to the circling air. Mont Blanc yet glams on high, the power is there, the still and solemn power of many sights, and many sounds, and much of life and death. In the calm darkness of the moonless nights, in the lone glare of day, the snows descend. Upon that mountain none beholds them there, nor when the flakes burn in the sinking sun, or the star beams that draw them, winds contend silently there, and heap the snow with breath, rapid and strong, but silently. Its home, the voiceless lightning in these solitudes, keeps innocently, and like vapor blows over the snow, the secret strength of things which governs thought, and to the infinite dome of heaven is as a law inhabits thee. And what were thou, and earth, and stars, and sea, if to the human mind's imagines Silence and solitude were vacancy.